Good morning. Good morning. Is it just me, or is it interesting that out of the 5 boxes on the screen, one name is GEN, one name is GAN, and one name is GIAN? Funny coincidence. Anyway, this Autumn, please clip that part out of the recording.
I feel like I need to leave because I don't have the right name.
Right. You're really outlier. So that's all right. I appreciate you being here, and everybody, welcome to Scripting Fridays, Agent Power Huddle. Every Friday, we talk about scripts and dialogues that work and words that compel people to do what you know is best for them. I used to say compel people to do what you want them to do, but that just sounds manipulative. So we're going to go with what's best for them. So with that being said, today we're going to talk about the multiple buyer dialogue. So when you guys meet with sellers, you're going to have occasions where there's different demographics that home might appeal to. And so we're going to talk through what to say in that circumstance so that the seller goes, holy cow, am I lucky to have met Rima or Jen or Gan, right? So let's dive in and let's let in Allison. July 11th. Wow. All right. So what the heck happened? All right. I have 2 screens and it just confused Zoom. So I'm just going to unplug that screen and we're going to start over. Autumn, clip that out too, would you? All right. So in case you're new here, my name's Ed Laine. I'm a broker with eXp up here in Seattle. You can see the Space Needle in my background. I've been doing this since 1987. Long time, 38 years, over 3,000 sales. I've got a lot of experience. I also was a lender for over 30 years. So over 5,000 successful mortgage transactions. So helped a lot of families, learned a lot along the way. That's one of the things I always tell people is I love real estate because I learn something new every day. And there's a lot of people that would tell you that Ed knows everything. He doesn't. And that's the best part is I don't want to. I love to learn. So today we're going to learn about when you have a house that could appeal to multiple audiences, right? So for example, this house, right? You can see the roof needs to be mowed. The condition is not great. And I'm actually going to show you the inside so that you can get a sense of condition. And then we're going to talk about who are the audiences, right? So I'll just go through these real quickly, right? Hammered inside, dated. It's got a view though. Ancient appliances, etc. It's pink ceiling. I love that. Right? And then it had a full ceiling height basement that was quote unquote finished, but as you can see, not really that finished. So who does this sort of house appeal to, right? And when I meet with a seller, I want them to know that I can get their home in front of all audiences, right? So I use the multiple buyer dialogue, and it actually starts with educating the consumer on what direct response marketing is. So I'm going to stop my share just long enough. Put a 1 in the chat if you have heard of direct response marketing or know what it is. Anybody? All right. So let's just talk for a minute about it so that when you're with this seller, you can come across as an expert, right? So think of a billboard. That's not direct response marketing, right? That's just 50,000 cars a day driving by with no true target audience. It's just everybody, right? Direct response marketing is the exact opposite. It's messaging that is tailored and targeted to an audience and only that audience. So when they raise their hand, you know that they are a buyer for your product, whatever it is, right? So we do this all the time in real estate, right? But we don't talk about it the same way. And what I mean by we do it all the time is if you had a luxury listing, are you going to do, stuffed mailboxes with flyers? No. You're going to do a classy brochure, maybe even a book. Like you upgrade or downgrade your marketing based on the potential buyer. That's direct response marketing, just in a more limited example. Well, when you market online, you can absolutely lever up direct response marketing, right? So with my magic wand, I just dub all of you experts in direct response marketing. So you're going to say, I'm an expert in direct response marketing. Have you heard of that? And the average consumer is going to say no, just like you guys did, right? And then you can say, well, it means tailoring a message to an audience so that when they see my marketing, they raise their hand and identify themselves. The beauty of your home is that I get to tailor multiple marketing messages to multiple audiences, which increases our chance of not only getting this sold for top dollar, but maybe even getting multiple offers. And then the most powerful sentence in the world, does that make sense? And they smile and nod, and they think to themselves, who would buy my house? Right? They love what you're saying. They're drawn into what you're saying, but it's raising questions in their minds. So you want to answer that question next. And the answer is, it could be dependent on the house you're in, right? Like that house I just showed you, who on this Zoom meeting would want to flip that house? Anybody? Who on this Zoom meeting would want to bulldoze this house and build a new one? Right? I know Jen's a flipper, so she's giving me the thumbs up. Bulldoze. Allison, is that a flip or a bulldoze? Yes. Rima, same question to you.
Bulldoze.
Bulldoze, right?
Bulldoze.
And by the way, that's in Seattle. And Seattle just introduced a series of new zonings that allow higher density because we don't have enough land. So yeah, bulldoze, that's a decent sized lot. You could put 3 townhouses on it potentially, right? So bulldoze is an example, develop is an example, flip is an example. Somebody lived in it in the way it was. So it could even be an investor that doesn't plan to do a damn thing other than stuff a renter in it, right?
Ugh.
I know. I wouldn't rent from her, right? But the slumlord guy would.
Yeah.
So that's the messaging you'd want to send. If you were standing in that house and talking to that homeowner, you'd want to say, well, I'm going to craft a marketing message that will appeal to an owner occupant, somebody that would want to move into this house as is and rehab one room at a time. Have you ever had a client do that or know of somebody who did that? Right? I have a buddy. He did that like 5 times. That was how he developed his wealth over his lifetime, is he would buy these terrible houses, move into one room and rehab the rest of the house and then move out of that room and rehab it. So that's the owner occupant model. What about the investor? That's the slumlord we just talked about. What about the flipper? Obviously, this is a no-brainer of a flip, but do the numbers make sense, right? Or the developer like we talked about. And when I'm explaining these things to a seller, most of the time they've thought of 2. Owner occupant, just like they were.
Can you go back one screen, please?
Yeah, absolutely.
To the 4 different. Yeah, that. Thank you. Okay, got it. I got it. Thank you.
Yeah. So, that's the seller that you're talking to can envision what they've done with the house, which is live in it. That's a no-brainer. And they might have one other use that they're thinking of, but they won't have 4 or 5 like you will, right? I'll give you a great example. I was in a house on Friday, a week ago today. Log cabin that's 60 years old and looks it, with a detached garage and mother-in-law above. I mean, in its day, it was a castle, but its day was 60 years ago. But it's on an acre and a half in Sammamish, Washington, which is one of the most affluent areas in, Western Washington. So, I used this dialogue a week ago. Hey, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to craft a marketing message for these different audiences. Right now, as it worked out, and this is just another dialogue for you guys to take note of, he had already started short platting process. So here's the dialogue I used. That's great, because you know what? The cost of developing this property is a continuum. And I use my hands like you can see in my screen, right? You can't see the hand that's off the screen, but I'll do this. It's a continuum. And the further along that continuum you are, means that you've spent money, but we can sell it for more because you've spent money. And sell it for a little bit more than you spent because you're saving the headache and the hassle of the paper shuffle, which is what, why developers make good money, is because they get good at working with municipalities and getting stuff approved. And it's not easy for the layperson, right? But if you come along and sell something that's already down that path, somebody's going to pay more money for it, right?
Very nice.
So that's how you explain it to a seller, to either applaud them for getting it further down the path, or to encourage them to keep going if they're already on the path. If they haven't even started the path, you can imagine what you'd say then, right? It's, well, if you want to initiate that process, because, in Sammamish in particular, it takes 2 years to get permits. So to be on that path increases the value for that reason as well, because you might be 6 months in and you're saving me 6 months of headache, right? So you just want to understand, and sometimes, if you're like me, I sell houses all over the place. I'm taking a listing live today that's an hour from here. I'm driving to another listing that's on the other side of the Cascade Mountains later today.
Wow.
I'm not smart in that regard, but that's also why I joined EXP, because EXP is going to let me stop selling houses because of rev share. So if you're not familiar with that, reach out to me. I'll be happy to teach you about it. But the point I'm making is, if you generate leads all over the place, you would want to do the research before you get there so that you can speak intelligently to the seller, right? Not difficult research. You just want to pull it up on Property Search or Parcel Viewer, look at the zoning, figure out the math. Okay, it's zoned R6. That's 6 lots per acre. This house is an acre and a half. Great. That means nine lots minus the hammerhead. Does everyone know what a hammerhead is?
No.
A hammerhead is a street that comes in like this, and it has a section like that so that a fire engine can pull in and turn left and back up and pull out. It's a 3-point turn for a fire engine, and it's required in different cities anytime you have more than X houses. So in King County, where I'm sitting, it's any plat bigger than 5 or 5 or bigger. So this would be 9. So we'd have to have space for a street that has a hammerhead. Okay, so maybe it's not 9 lots, maybe it's 8, right? Rima put in the chat buyerprediction.com. Great AI tool that you can use to come up with these different potential buyers, right? But you guys are all grizzled veterans. You'll look at a house and go, I know who the buyer is for this. I even, like, when I tell people I'm going to help drive multiple buyers, I already know which buyer is going to pay the most. And so would you, right? But I don't say that because I don't want them to think that I'm a single horse, one trick pony. So, go through the dialogue, explain that you can create separate marketing messages for all those different audiences, right? And then they're going to go, okay, this sounds great, right? So you're going to say, then let's get started on the paperwork. And we covered the Senate Bill 5191 dialogue in a previous Agent Power Huddle, but I'll touch on it now. If you're new and you don't know what I'm referring to, that is the state law here in Washington that says we can no longer provide brokerage services without getting hired. That's straight out of the NAR settlement, right? So figure out what it is in your market and use that after you've demonstrated character and competence to anybody, sellers, buyers, anybody. Are you familiar with Senate Bill 5191? Or don't even, say it that way. Just say, I don't know if you've been paying attention to the news, but a new law went into effect last January. Are you familiar with it? No. Well, it's called Senate Bill 5191. I say it by name on purpose because that increases my credibility in the mind of the consumer. And what it says is that I cannot provide brokerage services without you hiring me first. I use this dialogue whether I'm meeting a lead in front of a house before I even open the door, because that's brokerage services, or before I do a CMA for a seller, because that's brokerage services, right? So I would love for all of you to sort of have the mentality and take this approach, which is, I ain't lifting a finger until you hire me. I'm never going to say it like that to somebody, but that's my attitude, right? Hey, I'd love to help you. Let's get started on the paperwork so that I can help you. Oh, what do you mean? Can't you do this without me needing to sign anything? Actually, no. Are you familiar with the new law that went into effect? No, tell me about that, right? Blah, blah, blah. And boom, I'm into that dialogue. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yeah.
All right. I want to make sure we keep, is what only in Seattle? Senate Bill 5191?
Yes.
Senate Bill 5191 is a statewide law here in Washington.
Okay. I'm looking up to see if there's something similar in California so I can quote it.
Yeah. So I'm glad you asked that, Allison, because I just kind of assume everyone's aware of whatever it is that changed, right? So in your market, you're in Southern California. It could be a state law like we had here. It could be a new MLS rule, which it might be if it's not a law, right? But something came out of the NAR settlement in everybody's market that says you have to have a buyer brokerage agreement now. Well, you can take that same law and apply it to listing agreements too, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if it's a law or an MLS rule, just figure out what it is so that you can cite it by name. And that's what increases the credibility in the consumer's mind because they never heard of the name of the law or the name of the rule.
Right.
All right. The next thing you do is fill out the listing agreement, right? If you don't have a cancellation agreement, I encourage you to get one and then get to work. Pretty easy. That log cabin I mentioned, I sent him the listing agreement on, actually we met on Thursday because I sent it on 4th of July. And then I followed up with him on Monday. He said he didn't get it. I resent it. He confirmed he got it. and we're supposed to talk today. Any questions on this? Because I do have a little section of additional dialogues that we're going to cover in these last 10 minutes. But before I do that, any questions on this multiple buyer dialogue? All right. So last week, 2 weeks ago, actually, before the 4th, we covered the takeaway close. And someone on my team asked recently about how do you get somebody to sign an exclusive buyer brokerage agreement? That's what we covered 2 weeks ago. That's the takeaway close. So I wanted to just touch on it again, but with more focus on the exclusivity part of the agreement. Because here in Washington, again, I'm not familiar with your forms in whatever market you're in, but look at it. If you have a buyer brokerage services agreement, or it might be called something else, does it give you and the consumer the ability to make it exclusive or non-exclusive? Most of them do. Ours does. I never, ever sign a non-exclusive agreement. I will not work with you if you insist on having one. So that's what we're going to focus on right now, is how to get people to sign. Suma, specifically in California. Suma's found the law. Good. Thank you, Suma. All right. So, with the train, and Rima, I know you were one of the ones that was curious about this. Watch the video from June 27th or whatever the previous Friday was, because that's what I went through. But here are the avatars for who hates exclusivity, right? Investors, buyers who consider themselves savvy negotiators, and anyone who,
That's funny.
right? And it's in quotes because it's rarely true, right? They
Right.
fancy themselves, but they're wrong.
The
But-
person that thinks they're smart is dangerous.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
Or anybody that just thinks more is better. I just want to work with as many agents as I can, right?
That makes me crazy.
Right. So, that's what they're asking for, is non-exclusive. And Eddie ain't going to play that game. Sorry. Right. But
It's like E&M, ethical non-monogamy for real estate.
it really is, right?
Yes.
But also think about when in the conversation does this come up, right? Because if you don't have a process for your meeting, that initial meeting, we call it our VIP buyer meeting. We have a process and a sequence, and the paperwork comes last. So there's no discussion of exclusivity until the end. But at the end, I have already spent 40 minutes or so demonstrating nothing but value, character, and competence. So that when it gets to the end, I can say, take it or leave it. If you want me, this is how you get me, right? Of course, I never say it that way, but that's the messaging. So the key point I'm making, though, is it doesn't come up until after you've said, these are all the things I'm going to do for you, right? So the handlers are, you want exclusivity or non-exclusive so that you can talk to multiple agents at the same time. What if two of us send you a house at the same time, a new listing? Who are you going to use? And they're going to say, well, whoever sent it first. You see, that's a problem for me. Because what if I'm second by only 5 seconds? I'm now screwed? That's not going to work for me.
Right.
Because here's the issue. If I'm in the car showing you properties and I get a search result for one of my other clients, I have to disrespect you to pay attention to that so that I can forward the new listing to that client in the hopes that I don't come in second. And I'm not going to put you in that position. Do you notice I didn't say I'm not going to put myself? I said, I'm not going to put you in that position. The impacts you, right? And if they say, I don't care, that's how I'm going to do it. Well, and then I'm not the guy or gal for you.
No, that's not my ideal client.
Right? And I say it like this. I go, here's the thing. I only have a finite amount of time, and I choose to spend that time with the people that want to work with me.
Exclusively.
Right. I don't even say the word exclusively. I just say the people that want. I emphasize the word want, work with me. And they will say, but I want to work with you, but I also want to work with these other 7. And I go, that's not going to work for me. And the takeaway close is like, by that point, I've got a folder of paperwork, right? And I start scooping it up and stacking it and making a little pomp and circumstance, like drama to it. And I go, you know what? It's totally fine. I have nothing but respect for you and I wish you the best, but I'm not the guy for you.
Seriously.
That's when they go, wait, right? I also like the having 7 agents is moronic because they're all fishing in the same pond, right? And in my buyer presentation, I talk about active listings, which is what those 7 agents are all fishing in. I talk about expired and canceled listings, which maybe one of those 7 will even look at. I talk about off-market REO and short sales because I happen to be the #1 REO broker in the whole state of Washington. So that's a pond that these idiots can't even see, but you'll get it 30 days before they even go on the market. And I have a whole off-market system. So I'm fishing in the ocean and you want 7 guys all with lines in the same pond. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And again, they can say, don't care, want 7. No problem. I'm not the guy for you. Right? I guess this is it. And I'm always positive and encouraging. I'm saying it to you guys with some emotion because I want you to have that level of confidence and stick-to-itiveness, right? But I'm always gentle and kind with them. I go, you know, guys, here's the thing. I do this and this and this, and those guys can only fish in one pond, the MLS, the active MLS. So this probably just isn't a good fit. And there's nothing wrong with that. I wish you nothing but the best. Start scooping up my papers, right? And you need to be willing, and I know Rima, I forgot I was supposed to keep through. I know Rima fired a couple people last week because they were insistent. But hopefully, Rima and everybody else, this gives you a couple more objection handlers to fight for them hiring you. And in the end, it doesn't sound like these ones would have. So Godspeed, right?
Yeah, I like the, what if it's a tie? I forget about that one. I use the other ones clearly, but
Yeah. I mean,
what if it's a tie is a good one because that's exactly what it was. It's like, we all are fishing in the same pond. We all have access
Yeah, I like the
to same properties. And so why are you going to want 5 people looking at the same properties and showing you the same properties?
Yep.
And yeah, what happens if it's a tie?
And I don't blame anybody for thinking that because it's logical, right? Having more is better. That's a fundamental belief of people. But in this case, it doesn't change anything. Right? So,
well, and what are those other 6? You know, what does that say about the other 6 that would say yes to that? You know,
Yeah.
I mean, that's really like a, you know, I don't know who would say yes to that. I don't know one person that would say yes to that.
There are, and I've even heard from people within our organization that they don't even talk about the BBSA until they start submitting offers. So they'll just put it, even now, they'll just put it in with the offer. So there are still people out there who are giving the impression that the buyer broker agreement is not necessary or not as required as some of us other people think it is. And
Well, and in our state, what the law requires. So they're breaking the law, and they're breaking the law only because they're too timid or weak at sales, right? Because think about it. Buyer brokerage agreements have been around for decades. 1997, here in the state of Washington, is when REBRA became a law. That's the Real Estate Brokerage Buyer Representation Act. So I've been using buyer broker agreements since 2007, 18 years. But 97% of brokers have not. And why? Well, they're afraid to ask a question of the consumer where the consumer might say no. So they don't ask. And that's all what Rima just described. That's a percentage of current brokers who are afraid to ask. Don't be like that. Your time is valuable. Wouldn't you rather know up front in the first meeting if a buyer was going to cheat on you with 7 other brokers? Wouldn't you want to?
Absolutely.
Right? So force their hand. Sorry, I only work with people that want to work with me. Well, I want to work with you. Yeah, but you want it non-exclusive, and I don't have time for that. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Time is a finite resource. So manage it wisely. And I choose to spend my time with people that want to spend their time with me.
I do magic for my buyers, and I only do that when I'm hired.
I love that. Yeah. I mean, it's awesome language, especially on the heels of walking them through all the different things that you're going to be doing for them, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this is a powerful skill that all of us need to build. It's like a muscle, right? Because we're under attack, right? The NAR settlement was just the beginning. Companies are being formed to try and take your livelihood because commissions represent billions of dollars every year. But the consumer needs a confidant and an advocate, and they always will. So I'm not worried about it, but I want to help everybody I can that's in this industry to get better at this skill so that they can protect their income, right? Their commissions. And it starts with getting hired. So yeah, great to see you all. I always try and reserve time at the end to answer any, off topic scripting questions. We don't really have time for that today, but I did put it on the screen. Go to whatwouldEdsay.com. It's a custom GPT, and it's got every script I teach is in there. So you can use that to ask questions of me other than Friday between 8 and 8:30. And also, if you have trouble getting in, log into you have to have at least a free ChatGPT account, and just log in and go into the GPT section and search my name and you'll find it. All right. Great to see everybody. Have an awesome weekend. It's a
Thank you, Ed.
beautiful sunshine.
Gator.
If you'd like more information or to get connected to the Agent Power Huddle, join our free Facebook group. This call was designed for the agents in our EXP organization, but open to any agent from any brokerage. If you're a guest and you're interested in learning more about EXP or our specific resources within the Agent Collective, reach out to the person who invited you to this call to get more info. Produced by the Agent Collective Media Network.